We are live. Oh my God.
Dude.
What just happened?
What the hell
Are we
was
live
that?
or are we dead?
We're alive. De La DOA, dead on arrival. My goodness.
Oh, this was, guys, this was not the Friday night I thought I was going to have.
This was not. But yes, what do you know? Zannis
All
is
week.
back for another L. The Garden Report starts
Zannis
right
was not
now.
scheduled on
Always
tonight's
has to be a
show.
shot at somebody.
I know.
They're never clean.
They have to run. That's the only shot they have.
They do it for 82 games. We're about to find out.
He already has shown what he's capable of.
Did surprise me. I thought we were going to hang in there.
This makes me think that we do need to be humble.
I actually think you're the only one who deserved that beating. And there we are. We are here, the Garden Report post-game show as the Celtics. You knew one of these was coming, right?
Yeah.
You knew one of these was coming.
Yeah.
You knew one of these was coming.
It came.
It came, and I still thought,
I knew it was coming. I didn't know this was going to be the one, John, until halftime. When I say to you, I was like, this is your classic home loss. They had a few of them, in the past couple of seasons. With how many times did they say, "Oh, we just didn't show up tonight. We thought that the game was going to be given to us." The good Celtics used to think that way. This Celtics team, we've already talked about it. They cannot take games off. It doesn't matter who it's against. Doesn't matter where it is. They are not good enough to take any team for granted, even if it's arguably the worst team in the league. And at halftime, the way that they were playing defense, the way that they were allowing Brooklyn to get inside on them and get those second chance points and scoring at the rim. And right out of halftime, what happened? Brooklyn did the same thing, like a minute into the third quarter. Joe called the timeout, but it just never really changed things. Just never really. I mean, they made a little run here and there, but you went down like 18 to Brooklyn in the third quarter there. That was like a whoa moment. Like, oh my God, these guys. This is the loss. I think up until that point, I thought maybe they would make a comeback into their defense. They did in the fourth quarter, but ultimately this was not a Celtics team that we've seen in many cases this year. The effort was not there in the defensive end, and then when Jaylen Brown went out with that fifth foul, awful. They just fell flat in their faces. That was the little peek at what life would be like if you play a game without Brown or White. And we said this going into the year, and we said this throughout the season. Health has been on their side. Still is. But you lost Jaylen Brown tonight to foul trouble, and you got a little peek at what life is like when one of those guys isn't in the game. There's nobody coming to help you.
No. They there's so many crappy things about this game to get into. But for me, the big thing, and we'll get into it a little bit at some point, is just the lack of adjustments on the player's part, on Joe's part. I mean, how many times will Kata be in drop coverage and just let Michael Porter Jr. just raise up? I mean, he must have got at least 10, 12 points that way. And it was there throughout the course of the game. It was just little things like just not making adjustment defensively, not playing harder, not tracking down loose balls, not boxing out. There was so many little things that they did that you would have thought that this was like, I don't know, you had 3 or 4 all-stars on your roster instead of one. You'd have thought that this was a team that in Brooklyn. And the thing about Brooklyn is, they're going to play hard because they don't have a choice. They're not good.
I don't know.
We know that.
Have they played hard? I don't even know. I haven't watched a second of them except earlier this week.
That's the sad part about this game, though. I don't think this was a typical Brooklyn team. They didn't play as hard as they normally do. They just
They looked good. Yeah, they look good. I mean,
but this is the thing, though. At no point did you give them any reason to push back. And here comes Joe. Let's what the hell's Joe got to say?
Oh, this should be good. Hey, everybody, what's up? Joe muted?
That would be.
I can't hear Joe.
No, I don't hear him either.
I don't hear John either, actually. The whole thing's effed up.
Whoever is at the Garden, Joe is muted.
Joe is muted.
I'll leave him up. I think he's going to come up in a second.
Let's try to guess what he's saying then, if we
can't
hear it.
I don't want to do that. because to me, I would interpret whatever he's saying as some absolutely profanity laced.
What he should say is that they got outworked. They got outworked on the glass. They got outworked in the paint. I don't think that it up and Joe's gone. Oh, well. Somebody will have to clip it and tell us what he said, John.
Yep. It was just, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm showing it muted on our, maybe because he's not on the stage. Okay, that makes sense.
It's the mic's not hooked up.
Oh.
Okay. You just truly hate to see that. Damn it, Amit. Well, what else? What else then? Let's go back to what we were yapping about.
You know how I knew it was bad? How I knew that this was a bad night for them, and how I knew that Joe Mazzulla was really upset is that Anthony Simons played a lot. That's how you know.
Joe definitely confirmed not having fun tonight.
In order for that to happen, Joe had to be so angry at everyone else to give Simons the amount of run that he gave him.
So true.
That's how I knew.
And by the way, nobody's going to want to say it, but Simons kept him in it at many points, I thought. 10 of 16 from the field for Simons tonight. Still a -10, but I don't know if that tells the whole story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he had his usual, set of defensive, oops, my bad moments. Yeah. But for the most part,
they all did from the Clippers game as well.
Here we go.
We got Joe.
I don't. I mean, I don't. Just if you get it, knock it down. If you get it down there, but I don't know that. The story of this game is solely on our missed layups. I think a lot of it has to do with both. I thought the Nets played really, really well, and we got off to a good start, but we didn't play. They played better than us throughout most of the game. I think that's the bigger story is, a little bit of our offensive breakdown, but our defensive lapses on our off-ball execution, or kind of like our individual tendencies and game plan stuff there. So just got to continue to get better at that.
Was there anything that the Nets did in particular that you think led to that, or was it just on you guys, like not being as sharp defensively?
I thought they played better than they did the other night for sure. I have to give credit to them, and we didn't play as well. I think it was that simple.
So they play harder than you tonight?
For moments of the game, for sure. I mean, I thought we got off to a great start in the first quarter. Obviously a 40-point second quarter, and then probably midway through the third, we started to turn it up. But I thought they executed very well on both ends of the floor. And we were just, we didn't execute like we're talking about with some of the 2-on-1 reads and, our defensive execution.
And what's the kind of the frustration of searching? Like, I think a minute into the third quarter, they got an offensive rebound. You went and pulled Luka and put him in the game. Like, it seemed like you were kind of searching for answers.
No, the 1 minute time, that was like we had a off-ball miscommunication, which, coming out of halftime during the coverage and on the first possession, we missed an off-ball communication. It's just, we have to be better at that. So that was the main teaching point there in the start of the third quarter.
And is there kind of a lesson like they're 2-12, but they still play hard? Like, you just cannot take anyone lightly. You can't, like, even though you beat them 3 nights ago.
I mean, there's a ton of lessons. They just played better. They played better than we did tonight. And regardless of, record or not, we are at our best. We have to play at such a different level. Physically, mentally, we have to play at a different level to be at our best. And if we don't play at that level physically or mentally at our best, we could lose any night to anybody.
Joe, you mentioned that 40-point second quarter. Just what did you see go wrong in there?
It was a little bit of a connection of our transition defense, but really it was our individual defense. I thought, guys got downhill. Lay up to Claxton, lay up to Clowney to his right hand. I thought they just did a great job attacking the basket. We fouled a lot in that second quarter. So we put them at the line. It was a little bit of transition, but.
Joe, you said you guys have to play at a different level physically and mentally to be at your best. Is that true of any basketball team, or is that something particular to this group that is unique?
I think it's true of any basketball team, but I think it's the margin for error is smaller for certain teams, and the margin for error is smaller for us. We have to be the best. We have to be sharp physically and mentally every night, and that's we've understood that that's a strength of ours when we're at our best, and we have to try to play at our best. Thank you.
And that ultimately is that in a nutshell. And I think that that's the theme of the entire show. And again, this is why I get frustrated. Like,
You get frustrated a lot.
I do get frustrated, but this is why I get the most frustrated. Can't we just we all know what this is. Can we all just get on the same page and like stop the yo-yo back and forth analysis? Like, everybody chill. Like the sky's not falling when they lose, and they're not. Oh, they're only 2 games out of second in the East. Shut up. Like, just
and they should be better, actually.
Everybody, and they should look at the offensive and the defensive rating. This team, Scal's doing it. To a couple more. If they're better in the clutch, they could be like top in the East. Shut up. Like, it's guys. We know what this is. They don't have Tatum. We lost all these players. Like, when they play well and when they play hard, you celebrate that. And they have been playing hard, okay? But Joe just said it. We're not good enough to rest, and they're so not good enough that even a mid effort. This wasn't an awful effort. This was mid against a bad team, and you can lose. That's just where they are, and you know this. And against really good teams, they're going to get cooked. You know, they'll be able to hang with a bunch of teams because the Eastern Conference middle class is huge. So they can run with anybody, you know, like I know people were overreacting to that bullpen article and heavy because of that one quote about we don't fear the Celtics anymore. But the majority of that article was basically like, those guys play their asses off every night. And like, they're a pain in the butt. And if you don't come ready to play, they're going to beat you. That's what they are. They're a little engine that could sort of team. And you can celebrate that. But like, let's not get out over our skis every time they win a couple of games and start talking about like what's going to happen. This is who they are. This is who they're going to be. It's going to be up and down all season long. It's going to be frustrating. There's going to be moments where it's whatever, but like everybody just got to just recognize it for what it is. It's going to be much easier to watch this season if you do it that way, you know? So I don't know. That's where I'm at.
Well,
I don't know.
Here's the thing, John. I mean, what you're saying makes a lot of sense, and I agree for the most part. But the one thing about nights like this that I'm looking for is I'm looking for Joe to find some buttons to push that can, you know, at least recalibrate the situation and get them to play a little bit closer to that team that he knows they have to be in order to win. And that was the thing that bothered me most about this game. I didn't think that there were any adjustments or even attempts to make adjustments to move them, inch them a little bit closer to being a team that has to play at their best to be competitive. I mean, this was a met effort, but I thought coaching-wise, I thought it was bad on Joe's part. I didn't think he did much tonight. And that was one of the many things that didn't go their way. And to me, just like the players have to be better and things like that nature, Joe has to be better than he was tonight. I think this was one of the worst coaching games Joe has had this year. And Joe, I think, has been pretty damn good, but tonight was not one of his better nights.
Yeah, and it's the second game, you know, back to back, you know, that you get each coach gets a little film to work with and a little bit of a chess match there, right? You know, making adjustments. You're going to see the same guys in a few nights. And I agree with you, Sherrod. I think that, you know, the Nets came out tonight and they looked ready to play. You know, if I had never watched either team before, if I had never watched either team, but also if I hadn't known that the Nets were, you know, playing like one of the worst teams in the league, I certainly wouldn't think that tonight. I thought that, you know, they played with intention on both sides of the court. I liked that they answered the Celtics whenever the Celtics tried to, you know, get back in the second half there. And I thought that, what's his name there? Michael Porter Jr. He played with like a swagger tonight, you know? I mean, he was doing it all over the place. And I thought, obviously, you know, Jaylen Brown picking up that fifth foul completely changed, you know, everything the Celtics were trying to do to, you know, get back into things. And Jaylen Brown, I'm sure we'll talk about him because, you know, John's on the show and everything, but you're getting a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde, you know, with him. You know, it's unacceptable for him to pick up 5 fouls with 8 minutes left in the third quarter, right? I like that he's finding some spots in the court that, you know, are a little bit more comfortable for him, and he's bringing the mid-range game back. I still think that he looks slow out there. I like that he's drawn a little bit more contact, and he doesn't look like he's like worried about that. But I still do wonder if he's getting back to, where he needs to be athletically. The 3-point shot is still what it is. It's never going to be, top tier, at this point. So I'm just not sure. I have some questions. I have some questions at the top, just like I have questions at the bottom. Like who's going to be on the team in the next few years? Like, who are they rolling with? I almost question that at the top as much as I question that at the bottom. I mean, depending on where you think this team's heading, I think it's fair. And Derek White had an awful game too.
Yeah. So this might have been. We'll get to White, for sure, because this might have been his worst game of the year. In what's been a fairly rough year, and his body language is atrocious tonight. So when he smoked that bunny, he just looked like he just wanted to go into a hole and hide. And it's been rough, definitely rough for him. But I'm just going to address some of the comments. The Joe Mazzulla low hanging fruit. It's just, guys, there's no rotations. There's no secret answer. I just want to say something real quick, John. As soon as Bobby comes on, you have to go to apology camp. Continue. Okay.
He guaranteed victory. He guaranteed victory.
I know, and that's when we knew. That's when we knew.
I said they were going to sweep these games. I said last week they're going to sweep these 3, and everyone's going to be like, "Oh, look how good they are." And thankfully, I'm wrong. But look, guys, I'm just the Joe stuff is insane to me. There's no secret sauce with this team. No matter what you do, you're going to play guys one night and you're going to feel okay about it and be like, Joe pressed the right buttons. And then they're going to play the same guys another night and be like, dude, what's he doing putting guard? Why didn't Hugo play? It's just, they simply just don't have the horses to mismanage the roster. All of the guys, it's a crapshoot. You don't know what version of Minot or Walsh or Garza you're going to get on any given night. You're just rolling them out there and just hoping for the best. It's not like, why did you play that guy? That guy might have been the right decision and he could still suck because they're just not it's just not last year's team. It's not the same. It's not the same.
I didn't have an issue with the guys he played because you're right. I mean, this is what he's
What are you going to do? You don't like Keita? You're going to bring in Garza. What are you going to do? Walsh wasn't effective.
Honestly, just go small.
I'll try this guy. He at least tried 3 guards a little bit tonight. So that's something he hadn't done. What are you going to do? What's he supposed to do? What did you want to see? Less Simons or less Pritchard and more Minot? Right. I don't, everyone's like, dude, Hugo, they should have just played Ugo. Yeah, go ahead. Play Ugo 35 minutes a night, see what happens.
Right.
It's not going to happen. Go ahead.
The thing about Joe, though, my issue had nothing to do with the personnel he played, but the way that he didn't make any adjustments with that personnel. If Michael Porter Jr. is coming off picks and just raising up over and over again, and Keita is dropping his ass in the paint, you might want to not have him drop his ass in the paint. That was my only issue with Joe, was that there just never seemed to be any attempts at an adjustment. And that, to me, that was my issue. Because you're right. I mean, it's not like you've got the benefit of having guys play average and win by 7 like you had last year. You could have a minute game like this and beat this team by 10, 12 points with last year's group. You can't do that now. But at some point, you as a head coach, you've got to be even more meticulous about the adjustments you make because you don't have the talent that gives you that cushion. And Joe talked about that, about just the margin of just, frankly, room to screw things up. You don't have that much anymore. You've got to be more on point. And I just didn't think he was in terms of the way he used his players because they're not as talented as they've been in the past. But he's got to be smart about how he uses them. That was my issue.
Yeah, I agree with that, Sherrod. I'll just say, really what it comes down to is in the second half, you lost Jaylen Brown and you had Derek White, who was already non-existent. So you were a team that's already not talented, lost their 2 most talented players effectively didn't have either of their 2 best players tonight. And that amounted to them losing to arguably the worst team in the league. And that's just what's going to happen. I don't know what's wrong with Derek White. Jaylen Brown, on any given night, he can give you 35, right, still. And I think if he didn't go out tonight, he could have probably done that without a problem. Derek White, something is clearly wrong. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's mental. I don't think it's physical. No one has said that he's dealing with anything. But he's in a slump. We've seen him get into slumps before. This is just a slump. And you already mentioned it, John, but the body language on top of it all. Like, he is very hard on himself. And, it's good to be hard on yourself in a way, because that, you want to challenge yourself to be better and all that stuff. But if it's to the point where it's like spiraling, then we have a problem here. They can't afford Derek White to be in his own head out there in the court. Like, he needs to. My prediction at the beginning of the year was more of like if he isn't, they're screwed. And it was basically like, this guy needs to be like borderline all NBA. If some of these predictions that fans have of them, making it into the playoffs and getting out of the first round and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, if Derek White's not close to an all NBA, and obviously it's a reach that he would have been a top 15 player. But the point I was trying to make is he needed to be like an easy all-star guy, and a guy that like was just cruising.
Well, let's
in
ask
that
the
role.
question. Let's ask the question. Were we wrong? Like, and this is globally, like, everyone was expecting the D White leap, right? Myself included, and everyone likes everything D White does. Everyone agrees that he's an all-around player who does the little things, always plays smart, always plays hard. But the expectation was, hey, he's gonna score now. He's just gonna score more, and he's gonna carry the load on offense. And I guess, and again, this was one of my concerns with everybody, with Pritchard, even with White.
Yeah, everyone's leveling up, and they're not ready for it.
Is that everyone leveling up, and that a lot of people are saying it in the chat, and I think it's perfectly fair. How many people benefited from Tatum's gravity? And how immense was that for them?
Sure. Extra little space sometimes is all it takes.
The amount of gravity that they have frees everybody else up. And we saw some stats. I think Bobby was sharing them earlier, just how much these guys, how many more of their points and how many more of their attempts are coming off the dribble versus off of catches. It just goes to show you how much harder they have to work for buckets. So when you see White and then Pritchard for a spell, even though Pritchard was hot recently and, didn't have a great game tonight, when you see them struggling, it's not always just a matter of the shots aren't falling. It might be a matter of they're working way harder for their offense than they used to before. And as a result, you're seeing mixed results in terms of what they're doing, in terms of their efficiency. So were we wrong? Like, is Derek not capable, or is this just a funk right now? Is he not capable of being a 2? Is he really suited to be a 3 or a 4 on a team? Is he truly one of the best role players in the NBA, or is he an actual NBA star?
He's looking more like a great role player. I mean, the numbers are, there's no physical ailment or limitations to him. He looks like a guy who's a number 3 or 4 who's been asked to be a number 2. And those guys, they'll have nights where they look the part, but more nights than not, they don't. They struggle. They're asked to do more things, have more decision-making responsibilities than they're used to, and they're just not getting it done with the consistency that you need. So, yeah, he looks very much like a role player who's been asked to take on a greater responsibility, and he's just not getting it done. Doesn't make him a bad player. It just kind of puts him in a space that, frankly, is going to make this a long season, longer than it was to be.
I don't know, Jimmy.
I mean, I know. I mean, I'm gonna probably have to agree with Sherrod. And I used to say that White. I still think White is like the most all-around guy. I just don't think like he's like on Mario Kart where everything's like a 4, right? And I just don't know, like, out of 5, right? So I just don't know if, like, again, like, that is enough to carry you as a number 2 guy. You kind of need somebody that's going to have a couple 5s on the scale there, right? And sure, there are some games where he'll be automatic from 3, and he's always, it feels like, I'm not going to say this season, but it feels like in the past, he was the winning plays guy, right? He was the one that would just make the smart play. You felt like when he had the ball, he wasn't going to make a mistake with it. He wasn't going to make a silly turnover or, make the wrong read, and he was going to be where you needed him to be. But now when it's really like, well, now we really need you to score more. Now we need you to create your own offense, and we need you to carry this team when, Jaylen Brown is out of the game, basically, right? Or when whoever is, when Peyton Pritchard isn't hitting his threes or whatever. Like, there's not much else coming this season. And he hasn't been able to do that. Simple as that. I mean, the numbers back that up. The eye test backs that up. And, I think the worst part is he probably sees it and feels it himself. And that's why you might see some of the reactions that you get. I think he's in one right now. So I would say to this point, John, yeah, I mean, anyone who said, clearly my bold prediction was, again, in the spirit of bold predictions, it was an exaggeration, but my bold prediction was that he's going to be all NBA, like third team. Like, this guy's not even sniffing not even close to an all-star, so of course I was wrong so far. I still I'm going to hold out hope that he can break out of the slump, but at the same time, is it going to be enough? Like, I just don't know if he's like the 1A that Jaylen Brown's kind of been at Tatum.
The irony here, Jimmy, is that you and I have to now you and I now have to advocate, that he's doing more, that his game is about more than just scoring. But that's what was expected this year, is more scoring and to take a leap. It hasn't happened. Here's Jaylen Brown.
Defense and just defense as a whole is one of the problems in this game. What did you see from the Nets that you think led to some of that? Do you think it was purely on your end? Like, what happened defensively for you guys?
I'm not sure. I guess we got to look at the film and see what happened tomorrow, but I'm not sure what happened tonight.
What do you think was, your initial takeaway? Like you said, you have to watch the film, but like, what's your initial takeaway as to what led to the result of tonight?
What's my initial takeaway? If you come ready to play or don't come at all, that's my whole thing. We gotta come ready to play. We just went through the motions today. Like, I don't understand it.
Jalen, you've talked a lot about the defense and the importance of that this year. What do you guys need in a night like this on that end to be able to drive a spark? I know you advocate for Jordan being that ball pressure guy, and Ugo came in late. Like, what's that process like of trying to ramp up the intensity on that end on a night where you might not have it?
I thought those guys did a good job. Hugo, Jordan, being pressure, just overall as a group, we just lacked energy. Tough whistle tonight. I want to be out on the floor for my team, and wasn't able to be out there. And I guess I got to do better in certain spots. But just overall, just a lackluster game from the Celtics.
Jalen, was there a moment in particular that you realized the team was going through the motion and you guys felt like you weren't ready to play tonight?
Yeah, for sure. It was the majority of the game, or at least a large part of the game. Definitely to close the half and then the end of that third quarter.
What can you guys do in those moments when you start to realize that to kind of fix that?
I just think be confident. Be aggressive. I guess give credit to Brooklyn. Brooklyn did a pretty good job defensively. They got some long guys that, maybe can discourage some shots. But, we didn't find enough stops to be able to get out and run and into the second, into the third, especially the second. I think they had a 40-point quarter in the second quarter. It was a 40-point quarter. And then the end of that third kind of gave them the separation they needed in this game.
Joe's talked a lot about how there's a lot of guys on this team that are learning what it takes to be consistent in this league and how to win on a daily basis, physically and mentally. How much did you feel like today was about the preparation from players leading up to it compared to what happened within the game itself?
Yeah, I think, I guess we'll watch it tomorrow. But, regardless if you're making or missing shots, regardless of anything, we just got to come out and play with great energy, great enthusiasm for the game, like want to win. It just didn't seem like that was the case tonight.
Jalen, when you look at the stretch you guys have coming up, Orlando, Detroit, Minnesota, Cleveland, do you view this as an important test for your team?
Absolutely. Every game is a test. you know, every game is a test. So I'll just take it one game at a time. You know, the schedule is a schedule, and we just got to keep going. You know, my focus is on, you know, how can I better prepare myself and how can I make my teammates better. But we got to have some enthusiasm for the game. At the end of the day, you got to play basketball.
Jalen, how do you not let the officiating kind of impact you? There was some calls I'm sure you didn't agree with, and then the challenge on the 5th foul. I mean, how do you kind of keep your focus?
I'm doing my best, man. I'm doing my best. You know, tough whistle tonight. You know, some of them I could be better on for sure. Some of them, like, no comment.
And what can you
Save
do
your money.
As a leader to
Save
kind of
your
get
money.
guys to be? You can't go in there and give rah-rah speeches, but to motivate guys to make sure that they're focused on every game. It just seemed like maybe having beaten them 3 nights ago, you guys said, okay, well, we got them at home. We should get this one.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But we gonna watch it tomorrow. And, like, yeah, that's my sentiment. At the end of the day, we all got a job to do. We all getting paid to do what we love to do. Come ready to play basketball, or you're doing a disservice. So everybody got to come in and be ready to do
Who's
their
he
job.
talking about?
Enthusiasm and want to win. You know, that's what it's about at the end of the day. Celtic basketball. So we'll look at it tomorrow.
Last question, Jay.
You guys have been pretty honest about how the margin for error isn't the same as it used to be. You kind of need to be that high energy, high intensity team. What does this team need to play with so that you don't have nights like this?
We need to play with an edge defensively and offensively. Like, we got to be the harder playing team. That can't be negotiable. And tonight we weren't. Brooklyn was a harder playing team. They played with more of an edge, and they deserved to win tonight.
Thank you, Jalen.
Okay, that's Jalen Brown. Wrapping
Harsh
it up.
words.
We should get Bobby Manning and Noah joining us as well in a little bit here from the Garden as they get set up. We'll let you guys know. Before we do all that, the show, as always, is brought to you by our pals over at Prize Picks. You got to love yourself some Prize Picks here. And again, doesn't matter what season you're in, basketball, football, hockey, it's all good. Just play Prize Picks right now. #1 daily fantasy sports app in all of North America. Pick more, pick less. That easy. You see the offer on the screen right now. Download the app, code CLNS, get 50 in your lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, download that Prize Picks app, code CLNS, to get 50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineups. And again, however you want to do it, 2 to 6 players, win up to 2,000 times your cash, mix and match sports, doesn't matter. I love that you can stack players, which means I'm going more on like 11 Drake May stats on this against this Bengals defense. I can't do enough. I was talking about it with Giardi on his podcast earlier today on All 32. Automatic, what you want to do, you want to go more anytime anyone's facing the Bengals, and you want to go more on whatever tight end the Patriots are up against, especially if it's a run-of-the-mill one because they can't cover. But there's the offer again, code CLNS. Download that app. Claim your 50 right into your lineups when you play your first 5 Prize Picks. It is good to be
right.
It is good to be right. It absolutely is. So, guys, we were talking a little bit about the Derek White conversation for sure of, him, struggling to kind of step up into that role. I think Bobby asked Joe about it earlier, and Joe got a little confused. We don't have that was when Joe was on mute. I think Bobby was asking him about that dribble.
We got to watch that back.
All right. If you guys, someone wants to clip that for me. Do we want to watch Bobby get beat up by Joe?
I mean,
do it.
He's on quite the run.
Make that a poll.
He's on quite the run. I will say that.
Yeah.
We love Bobby, though. Fine. But he is getting the apology. He is getting apology cammed immediately because I want him to say, why he was wrong. What in his, I mean, he's probably going to echo Jaylen Brown now because he was there for that. Jaylen Brown with some harsh words. I'm wondering if he's just talking about the team or if he's got any players in mind, if he's frustrated by certain guys. For him to say over and over, we get paid to, play basketball. We need to show up. We need to play hard. We need to all this stuff. Is he just saying and just is kind of like like
we've heard this before. I think he puts himself in there with we.
Right.
And I think just in general, he just felt like the whole team had a low energy sort of game.
Which is true. I just it's also
I always wonder Jimmy, I used to joke about that. I'm like, when you say we, who do you mean? Because we mean somebody, right? You always want to know.
There's somebody in the back of his mind that he's remembering a play or two or the way they came out. I don't know if he's talking. I always say, I think if you come out flat, sometimes I point at the coaches for not having the team ready to go, not having them fired up, not having the right game plan in place, whatever. I put some of that on the coaches, but I obviously understand that it's on these guys to also get themselves going.
I put it on the stars. I always put it on the stars.
Of course, but I think there's something to be said about preparation in a way. If you think that Joe doesn't have these guys prepared with the level of intensity and focus and attention to detail that he brings to all of their practices, I find it hard to believe. All we hear all offseason long is it's a track meet. He's killing us. We're working our asses off. We know how maniacal he is about specific details and areas of focus. You see him hop off the bench as soon as he sees something he doesn't like and yanks somebody. He's not afraid to send messages. He benches Jaylen last game. I just can't put any of this on Joe's level of motivation. I'm always going to start with the stars and filter it through. They got to lead by example there. And I do think when you have a guy like Derek White struggling, inadvertently, he suffers a little bit from Jason Tatum body language syndrome, and that stuff drags you a little bit. Offense can affect defense, and then it looks like you're dragging ass, but you're really just sad. So I don't really know. But I guess it's across the board there. I'm not really sure. Keita certainly looked like he was lacking focus at some times, and Joe was definitely a little bit frustrated with him as well. But I don't know who he's talking about there. I don't know. Sherrod? I was talking about you. You go, Sherrod.
No, I was just going to say it just watching this game and listening to his words, it felt that this was more of a team comment on Jaylen's part than any individual or even two.
I think so too. Yeah.
Because there were just too many guys that were screwing up out there for it to be one or two guys that he's pointing to, including himself. So for this particular instance, I would say that it's more likely to be team centric than any individual that he's pointing the finger at, including himself. Because I think he's got enough self-awareness to know that he didn't play one of his better games either, fouls or no foul situation.
Yeah.
My question is this.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well,
I was gonna say, didn't you guys enjoy the Sam Hauser era? It lasted one game, and then tonight we're back to this.
Oh, take that off, John. That was mean. That was mean.
Yeah. You know what else? What's up with this guy's gone too? Holy shoot,
Bailey!
But okay, so that's reality. This is the reality of the situation, and I'm going to go back to what I was going to say, and I'm glad you put those stats up there, John, because that's two. I mean, you could put Hugo up there. You could put Garza, whoever you want to pick any guy, and we're probably going to scoff or be flabbergasted by the stat line because it's so bad. But it goes back to what I was about to say about Jaylen Brown. This is different for him because he's used to competing, right? I mean, he's used to having a contending team.
What do you?
You used to like Minot, but I think
I'm a Minot fan. I only like him 12 minutes a game, 12 to 50 minutes a game. I love Minot's energy. Joe broke him.
Well, he played 7 tonight.
Joe broke him. He's in his head. He's in his head now. Tough love did not work with him.
Right. So here's the two things. One, Jaylen Brown being, I wonder if he's starting to understand the situation, and I think maybe frustration certainly sets in after a game like this, but I wonder if he's looking at the roster, looking at, you know, how hard they're playing, and that's their record, looking at like what's coming down the road. I can't imagine like he's probably pumped at like the level that they have to practice at, or like, and so that brings me to my next thing about Joe is if you lose the star, and I'm not saying this is happening or this has happened, but if it does, like that's when you lose the stars, the coach isn't long for the team. And
yeah,
when he benched Jalen, that was like a very bold decision by him, because if you lose Jalen, I mean, Jalen's an all-star, you know, perennial, you know, multi-all, I don't know how many years, but he's considered one of the best players in the NBA. You don't want to run the risk of embarrassing your superstar in a season where he's putting his body out there. He's putting everything out there on a season that I think deep down they probably realize they aren't going to the promised land here. So if I'm Joe, I understand his philosophies and all this stuff and how he treats the players, but I'd be very careful with the way you treat the superstars, because if you lose them, there's nobody that's going to have your back, and the losses are going to start piling up. And to your point, John, Minot doesn't respond clearly to that type of coaching. I start to wonder if some of these other guys will. There's a coach that Joe might kind of remind me of, and that's Tibbs. And what happens to Tibbs? He coaches his way out of town because the players eventually just can't stand the way he coaches and how hard he runs them. And what happens? He might be a great coach, but he can never last because the players are done with it after a while.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You know, one thing we were talking about before this game was, you know, how this was supposed to be, you know, an automatic W, right? A 9-7, you know, a guaranteed win. I wasn't on the last show, but Jimmy Toscano did want to point out that Bobby absolutely guaranteed a victory.
Guarantee. Yeah. He was like smirking from ear to ear and how confident he was, and like that they won after they won on Tuesday. He like couldn't wait for Friday because he was just guaranteed that they were going to win that game. And here he is.
All sorts of good stuff over at omahasteaks.com. USDA certified tender steaks. Get whatever you want: strips, ribeyes, sirloin, brisket, like I said, roasts, filet, bacon wrap fillets. It's all good. Check it out. Get it now. You can order it for yourself. You can send it as a gift, or you can send it as a gift heading into the holidays. As you see on the screen there, 50% off site-wide sale, plus an extra 20% off on select items. And when you use the code Patriots, there it is on the screen, an additional $35 off your order. So again, let's just do the math there. $200, you know, box of steaks, 50% off to $100, another $35 off. That's $65 for $200 worth of product. You can't beat that. And again, as I said, it does make a terrific gift. So yeah, check that out. omahasteaks.com. Sign up today. Let's get over it. They're about to wrap. They're about to wrap.
We are about to wrap. You're about to apologize.
Hot mic.
The white
All right,
balance.
go ahead. Here we go. Is it up?
So here's my problem. Can I start?
Go ahead.
I just think
I didn't listen.
But in what world is it shocking? Like, this happens all the time.
Yeah, I think.
Zoom in on Bobby. I don't want Noah to have to deal
Noah
with
shouldn't
this
catch any
apology.
strays.
Yeah, get me out of here. I'll get up and walk away if I
Get
need
Noah
to.
out of this.
No,
There
wait.
we go.
Noah was defending Bobby.
No, I was
No, she
not
wasn't.
defending Bobby.
Oh,
no,
It's not defending him at all.
This has been an ongoing issue for as long as I've worked with Bobby. That he thinks that because a team is worse than the records, there's
Not just worse than the record.
significantly worse. That there's a 0% chance that NBA team is going to win that basketball game.
And
we have been arguing about this for 2 years. And 2 nights ago, he said there's a 0% chance that the Celtics lose either of these games. And in that moment, it became 100% clear that they were going to lose at least one of those games. And they were down by double digits in both games. And in this one, they were down by as many as 20, and they lose. And I want this to be the end of that talking point from Bobby, so I never have to hear it again.
Well,
yeah.
Typically, I feel
Thank you,
good
Noah.
about that. And in this situation, I felt extra good about it because, 1, the Celtics are at full strength. 2, they seem to be hitting their stride. And 3, this Nets team looked incapable of winning even a single game. Now, they got a little bit of momentum on Sunday. The 3-pointers started to concern me a little bit in that first game there. And then obviously there were stretches in both of these games where the Celtics just seemed to take them lightly, which has been a common thread through recent teams and then this one here. So I don't know what to say.
Will you promise us and the viewers that you will never
On
say that
camera.
an NBA team
No.
has a 0% chance of winning a basketball game?
He's not going
ever
to do
again?
that.
He has
He's
to.
not. He
That's the
won't
only
do it.
apology I'm accepting. Anything short of that is not an apology.
Not a real
I think
apology.
For this team, the Celtics team, I
No,
have
any
to.
team.
This Celtics team has to battle to beat anyone. That's the
He's not
takeaway I have
sorry.
from tonight.
Okay, so
He's
you're
not
saying
really
that
sorry.
the Thunder could never lose to a bad
I don't
team
think the
then?
Thunder could lose to the Nets.
Oh my god, I can't do this.
This is a different situation.
Okay,
This is a
okay.
non-apology
I'm done.
apology.
Guess
That's
you
what
don't
this
know
is.
Let
Michael
me think.
Porter Jr., buddy.
He's basically like, okay, well, we just saw exactly that could happen, but nothing else.
That's what I learned tonight.
Okay, so
I-
okay.
I don't think the best of the league is going to lose to the bottom of the league, tanking.
There's a
teams
0%
in a
chance.
good situation. In a good situation, full health, all that,
Okay.
home court. But listen,
Bold.
obviously there's a chance here that
I would
anything
send you
can
a bunch of
happen.
clippings of games where that hasn't been true over the past 5 years, but you know that it hasn't been true, so I don't need to send you the clippings.
All right, I'll admit it.
Okay.
You got it.
So, it's like
There's a greater than 0% chance that
Okay.
any team can win
So,
on a night.
That's
Is
all.
that good enough?
That's all I needed.
Okay,
We can do the show
there
now.
we go. Let's do the show.
I want you guys to
big of
just
you, Bobby.
argue. Yeah.
So,
an
so
apology.
on that note, what the hell happened?
I'm still trying to figure it out. We were talking about this like throughout the post game stretch there, and I asked Anthony about it. You know, we'll probably hear from him in a second here. There were a couple of different explanations for it after the game. Jalen went in on the effort and showing up and seemed frustrated with either someone or something that went on here or just the collective effort by the team. That's the direction Joe went in to some degree. Anthony was pointing to the first half stretches that hurt them. Obviously, there was a bad one to close the second quarter, and then the third quarter after the Jalen injury was just a disaster. So there were a couple injury, foul trouble. So there were a couple moments in this game where things went wrong, but they, you know, from the midway point of the second quarter on, the Nets mostly controlled this game, which is the most concerning part. Like their ability to get to the rim, their ability to find shots, play with the greater pace in this game. I thought the pace was a big part of this one, as it was on Tuesday where they almost lost, and the physicality as well. Like they just beat up on the Celtics in a way that Boston didn't seem to have a great answer for.
Yeah, and it was very clear. I feel like Jalen doesn't do those kinds of press conferences that often, but it was very clear that he wanted to send a message that he was not happy with their effort and intention. And I would have loved for him to have gone first before Joe, because Joe was very kind of lukewarm, didn't really say a whole lot of anything. And Anthony was the first guy that said, you know, they beat us to 50-50 balls, which is the classic, like, we didn't play hard enough line that you hear players say in post-game press conferences. But I think the reality is, and like kind of what I was poking out with my questions is, like, this team's identity is playing way harder than the opposing team, and that's like why they're even a 500 team right now. Like, they've been outplaying opponents on a pretty regular basis in the effort department, and so if they are even a little bit outplayed in that sense, like, they are no longer the better team on the floor, even against the Brooklyn Nets, even against teams with poor records. We saw that a little bit with the Utah Jazz too, where it's like, the teams that we're used to covering here, like, you can maybe play a little bit less hard for 2 quarters and you're still going to win the game by 15, and maybe nobody even notices you didn't play that hard because you're just that talented. But their thing, what makes this team good when they've been good, is literally that effort. And so it's like, you take that away and it's like, what's really left?
And I can't figure out why it wasn't there. Like, Pritchard started this game hitting shots. He got off to a good start here. Jalen found some rhythm early. Like, guys were hitting their shots early in this game, so it wasn't like misses mounted. And guys, maybe in Derek's case, he had a pretty rough game from the field and overall. But for the majority of this team, I don't have a good answer for. Maybe it's the foul calls. Jalen got hit with those, obviously. Keita got in some foul trouble midway through this game. I thought the bench minutes were pretty rough once those guys started to come off the floor. And then obviously the rotation got completely blown up into the third quarter, where they had like the Shireman, Hauser, Anthony, Pritchard thing going on out there with Garza. That was a rough stretch in the third quarter there. So it's almost like the combination of the foul calls, the game not going the way that they thought it might. We've heard them discuss that in the past. Like, you can't have expectations for how these games are going to go. And maybe to just a small degree, the fact that they were able to breeze by despite some issues in that first Nets game too. They got away with them in that runaway stretch in the fourth quarter there. The three wasn't there though tonight. That was a big factor. I felt like throughout they were not able to get quality looks from behind the line.
In the previous 3 games, they were shooting well. So that was like the big change. The previous 3 games, they were shooting the ball well. And tonight, again, they weren't. And Derek had what was he, 2 for 13 in this one? Like, he had a really tough offensive game. And
they went
honestly, like, I wasn't laser focused on Derek's effort or defense. And I will, when I rewatched, look out for that, because it's just something that's so consistent that it's, unless it was like right in your face, you don't really notice it. But it did kind of stand out to me that Joe was like, Derek obviously didn't play well tonight, because he normally would not just outright say that about a player if they're just struggling offensively. So I wonder if, I mean, I don't know.
So I threw a theory at him, and you guys probably heard it live. There was a graphic.
We didn't,
around.
but
he is taking 40% more of, or scoring 40% more of his points this year off the dribble compared to last year. He was at like 44% of his points coming off the dribble last year. That's almost doubled in this new role for him. And you know, Joe didn't fully get this. I didn't have it fully queued up for him, so I didn't get a great answer for that there. He didn't seem to think that was a significant factor in some of White's struggles to start this year, but he is 30% from the field, 35 rather, and 30% from 3 to begin this year.
That's the weird thing. It's not just a 3-point slump. Like, he's just like, everything
Struggling
has been
in
difficult.
The short range,
yeah.
Like, and we talked to him about
he
it.
missed like a wide open layup today.
Yeah,
like it's
crazy.
It's mounting. Yeah.
Is it mental?
I mean, definitely. But I wonder, like, did it impact his effort in defense? Because that's like, that was one of the things that I came away from the press conference has been like, who is Jalen talking about? And Joe also saying that. I mean, I don't know, but like Jordan and Ugo and those guys played really hard. I thought Anthony had one of his best defensive games of the season. Keita had like good moments and bad moments in this game.
He battled through foul trouble, through a lot of minutes. He was okay.
So I'm just wondering what exactly Jalen is referring to. Is it Peyton and Derek and kind of the backcourt starting off a little slow? I don't know. It's not. There's some guys that I know right away it's not. So
and he had a pretty fiery quote in there, like, we're all getting paid to play. We all got to show up. We all have to, you know, do what we need to do every night. Like, he was frustrated with something or someone.
I also don't think he enjoyed.
I
don't think he enjoyed sitting on the bench and watching the Nets go on like an 18-3 run in those 5 minutes. So maybe I have to see exactly who the players were on the court, but that's probably mounted his frustration a little bit more than usual.
Well, let me say this, because he was adamant that wasn't a fifth foul. Obviously, got Joe to challenge it. Not saying that the challenge attempt was devastating to their chances or anything like that, but he pretty clearly swung back in my mind.
Yeah, it was a question of what came first though, because he got bumped, then he swung, and then they called a foul on the next play. So it was like there was like 5 fouls in there. I think the question was just like literally what was the first foul. So that's what they were challenging. But he's like near the top of the league right now in offensive fouls for a non-post player. Like, I think he's number 2 in the NBA.
He's tough with the
arm.
So
it's tough. But then he's drawing a lot of fouls. So I don't know. I don't know if he has to, like, it almost seems like the offensive fouling thing for him is becoming an issue, but it might be a little bit of a small sample.
It might also be the reduced athleticism, meaning he can't get by people as easily as he could. So he's got to, you know, do a little bit of the old man YMCA shovey shove, you know. So that might be in there as well. You know, I always do feel the effort is a tad cliched in terms of that. It just felt, I definitely think
John, your freaking mic is horrible right now.
What? Oh, I got
kicked for a walkie-talkie.
I got kicked. Hold on.
Effort stinks.
What do you feel like was the biggest issue tonight, Jimmy?
I'm back.
I thought first of all, I thought that they made Brooklyn look good. I don't know if I think you got to give Brooklyn a little bit of credit. I know, Bobby, that you probably don't want to, but I think Brooklyn came out and they just played hard to start things off. They set the tone. And I think the main thing was in that third quarter when Jaylen Brown went out with that 5th foul, whether or not you think it was legit or not, what have we been saying all year? If either Brown or White misses a game, that's an auto L. Sorry, Noah, but that would be an auto L.
A 100% loss. 0% chance.
How do you feel about that?
No, I'm not giving you guys a reaction on this anymore. You guys can choose to be wrong.
I truly believe
you gave it to us. You did.
I truly believe
that's it. That was the last reaction anybody is getting out of me on this topic.
I didn't say it.
Yeah. Without Brown or White, and tonight they really had either one of them for
next. Yeah.
For a stretch in that second half because Brown was out and White wasn't doing anything. You saw the worst team arguably in the league, you know, outscore them 18-3 or something crazy like that. I mean, that's really that tells you what the depth of this team is. I'm sorry, but that's just really it.
Well, yeah, a huge part of my
that was what
prediction,
happened.
Jimmy, was based on that. Like, I would assume, I think Jaylen Brown optimistically plays 70 games this year. That's 12 automatic, no chance you can win losses right there. 0% chance, right?
70 is a high number in today's NBA.
And that's a high number. If he plays
And you're
65,
8-8 through full health. That's tough.
no, but realistically, if Jaylen Brown missed 15 to 17 games, you're gonna lose 2/3 of those. Like, that's why it was like, I don't care who the opponent is, so that's a problem. That's a problem.
Yeah, and the on-off numbers haven't spoken to that this year. I don't know if there's some noise there, him, staggering in with those second units a lot of the time. But there have been games tonight, Utah, which they lost obviously too. There's been a couple of circumstances this year where and even tonight in the plus minus, it doesn't show. I think there were -4 when he was on and -4 when he was off. So you're not seeing it in the on-off numbers with him. In fact, I think they've probably been better statistically with him off the floor than on. It just looks like they're overly reliant on him to create offense for them. Not just him, it's Pritchard, it's White. And that's why I asked that question about White, because I feel like they have 3 guys. We can say Jalen, but it's also Pritchard and White. 3 guys who can consistently create offense off the dribble for this team. And a lot of it's difficult. A lot of it's really tough mid-range shots in Jalen's case. White is struggling from everywhere, as we mentioned. And Pritchard has had to, when his 3 has, disappeared, go in there, bang, pull up for those tough mid-rangers.
Again,
they're taking some of the most in the league.
Everything is harder. Their shot quality. We saw that chart. We were passing around before. They're not generating high quality shots. But you've had Jaylen Brown making a ridiculously high number of those. Peyton Pritchard actually has done really well with the contested mid range there. But you wonder how much of that is sustainable at the end of the day.
And they haven't been able to increase the pace.
And they're not increasing the pace, and they're working really hard to get those shots off in general. And you see, a lot of the struggles have to do with that. And, for as efficient as Jaylen Brown has been overall, because he's been so good from that mid range, he's now shooting 32% for the month from 3 for the month of November. So he's cooled way off there. You don't know how much longer that's going to be sustainable, what he's been doing from the mid range there. If he's not an automatic bucket every time he rises up, from 15 feet, they're going to really struggle to get, offense. Right now, everybody is working extremely hard for their buckets. Everybody. And that's a problem. That's a problem for this team. And it's going to continue to be one. I don't see daylight there.
They're working hard
in that regard. Yeah.
They're working hard. And then the opposite end, Bobby. Oh, sorry. No, you go. People would rather hear you talk than me.
No,
I was just going to say very, very briefly, I was just going to say that as hard as they're working on offense, I thought tonight they kind of got worked in the paint, on the glass, second chance points. I think that ultimately gave the Nets, how many you give a bad team a reason to believe that they can win, and they're no longer a bad team. I think that they realized they could just kind of bully them a little bit. What's that, John?
Numbers were surprisingly close there. The second chance points, actually, the Celtics had 15 to Brooklyn's 13 points in the paint. Boston had 52 to Brooklyn's 44.
I thought it was when it happened, though.
Yeah. So it wasn't as lopsided. It wasn't as lopsided as you would have thought. Noah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say on the offensive front, I agree that it feels like it's been a struggle, and the Jalen mid-range efficiency is something that's probably going to come down to earth a little bit. At the same time, entering tonight, they have the 6th best offense in the NBA, which is kind of ridiculous when you think about Derek's.
John's head's going to explode.
Why?
Do you guys really believe they have the 6th best offense in the NBA?
I mean, that's what the numbers show, right?
But do you believe it for real, though? I mean, do you think
I believe that their offense has been the 6th most efficient through 15 games. Is that sustainable? Is Jaylen Brown going to shoot 52% all year from mid-range? No, but through 15 games, that's what they've been. And so there are some things that are going to cool down, but at the same time, I have a hard time believing that Sam Hauser is going to shoot the way that he's been shooting much longer. I have a hard time believing that Derek White's going to shoot 35% from the field the whole season. Maybe those, I don't know that they've been punching above their weight on that end. And
why though? Don't you think, Noah, a lot of it has to do with Tatum? Don't you think a lot of it has to do their shooting struggles aren't just it's not entirely, I don't believe, a law of averages thing, which is open shots will fall eventually. I think it's harder to get those shots, and that their opportunities aren't as robust as they were. And a large thing has to do with the gravity. Certainly Tatum had enormous gravity, but all of the players that they lost. And so I don't know that necessarily evens out. That's the problem. Like, I don't know. Hauser's not going to shoot 18%, but
Hauser's been in one of the, like, he's been a foot short on his threes. Like, it's not, that's not, I mean, is his shot quality worse than it was last year? For sure.
The misses were bad tonight.
He's not gonna shoot as poorly as he has been.
And
Derek's not gonna shoot as poorly as he has been. I don't think Derek's gonna shoot like he did last year, based on we're seeing that he's getting different looks. But
they'll come up some.
Went off the glass on a corner three and missed the wide open lay. Like, he's in his head too. I mean, it's been almost every night where it's like he has a couple of errors, and it's like, and that's why I was wondering if Jalen was talking about him, because it seems like he's so.
But I'm sorry, but no, like, for the reason I question the offensive stats is, don't you believe that they just feasted on 3 of the worst teams in the NBA and blowouts to pad those stats to ridiculous levels? Do we really
Maybe
believe?
A little. But they also had a blowout loss against the Rockets, and they've played some tough teams too. Like, their strength of schedule is above pretty average right now, so it's not like they've had.
It is, but they've also run into a bunch of teams that were missing their best players too.
The whole league's missing their best players, though.
Like, I know, but the Celtics are not, and the Celtics have had perfect health, like, throughout the whole season, and they've had some dog opponents who have also missed their best playoff, leading to 30 and 25 and 30-point wins. So I think all of these offensive defensive rating numbers are really, that's actual fool's
again though,
gold.
John.
Well, I didn't really get to my point, but if I can
go ahead.
So I think the biggest thing that I've noticed in a little bit of an evolution is that Keita is actually a little bit of a scoring threat now. And you look at early in the season, like, they really weren't utilizing him at all. Like, he was wide open for stretches. When I went back and rewatched the games, I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe I didn't realize this in real time. And he's far from perfect as a scoring center. Like, he misses some easy looks and he forces himself into some tough looks. But what did he have? 16 on 7 of 12 tonight? Like, that is one of the areas where I think you can grow a little bit. Like, I don't think that he's reached his offensive potential. I don't think they've reached as a team as far as finding him and looking for him. I think that it can get a lot better in that front. So I guess I just don't think they've really been punching above their weight as a team. Like, maybe Jalen has, but at the same time, like, a lot of other guys I think are going to find better opportunities. And that's the part of the offense where I feel like I'm seeing the most growth, is they're looking for him and he's being active. Like, he didn't have a perfect game tonight, but he was super active on the offensive glass. He starts the fourth quarter with back-to-back putbacks. Like, I think you're going to see more of that from him, where early in the season, he really wasn't scoring. Like, he was doing some things well, but he really wasn't scoring. And so that to me is like the biggest area of growth, and also figuring out a better way to, if Anthony Simons is sticking around for the year, like, I don't think you've seen his potential fully maximized yet either. And tonight I thought was his best defensive game of the season. His minutes aligned with that. And you can see, I mean, he was probably their best source of offense for most of the game.
Tonight was pretty emblematic of the Simons debacle, right? Because Jalen goes off the floor, you throw him in, you say, save the day. And he tried his best, right? And he had a good game here tonight, but what they asked him to do in that second half was extraordinarily difficult. And it's another guy on this team who's in a tough position of having to create everything for himself when he's in those situations. There's just not a lot of outlets on this team. And I like that you mentioned Keita there, because they started to do a better job of finding him as one here.
And they still missed him a bunch of times tonight. Like,
yeah. So
that's why I'm like, this offense is not like, they got everything they can out of what they have.
They've
and, like,
never been good at that.
Right. Like, they've continued to make things difficult for themselves offensively, because they don't cut, they don't run, they don't have a post-up threat, they don't have a roller. Like, there's a lot of elements in this offense that they never go to the free throw line. Like, think of those 5 things being reality for them. It forces them to make really tough shots. It forces them to never turn the ball over, and it forces them to grab, like, a high percentage of their misses inside. And they've done those 3
Even
things.
the 8th best offensive rebounding team in the NBA entering tonight. Like,
think of what they've done to be a top 10 offense. Hit a ton of mid-rangers, grab every offensive rebound, and never turn the ball over. Is that stuff sustainable? It's been there through a lot of the schedule so far. They're winning those margins. They're winning the shot battle on a lot of nights. But, man, the amount of stuff that's not there for them to fall back on when things aren't going well is enormous. And that's going to lead to some nights like this. And this is a 500 team right now. Like, that's how they're playing. They're up and down. They're up and down. Key stretches of games, they lapse. Overall, they've been pretty good. But I feel like we're short of the 20-game mark. I feel like we have a pretty good idea of who this team is at this point. Like, I think we've seen it all.
I agree with that.
Well, we are going to learn a lot more coming up here with this stretch of games. coming up. Magic, we'll see. They're probably going to duck Banchero there, but the Magic have been playing better regardless. There, the Pistons, the hottest team in the NBA. The Timberwolves look very strong. Obviously, this year, Cavaliers back to full health, and then the Knicks. This is a gauntlet here, and it continues on. You gotta gimme after that with Washington, but then you've also got the Lakers.
There's no
coming
gimmies.
up. I think 7 of the next 8 are going to be difficult here. So I think we say we know what this team is. I want to see after this stretch who this team is here, because if they can hang and be competitive and come close to 500, even 2 out of 6, who knows what? Win 4 of those, that'll tell you something, because that'll say they can slug it out with teams whose talent exceeds theirs. But if this turns into a miserable stretch here, again, we'll probably be having a slightly different conversation. So I said give it about 30 games. I'm still not satisfied that we have a good idea who these guys are, because again, they've had full health. Every other full health relative to Tatum. Tatum's out obviously, but and a lot of the teams that they've played have even the crappy teams have missed whatever few good players that they've had. So I am really curious to see what's going to happen here over this stretch of games when it looks like all of these teams are going to be playing them close to full health. That'll be interesting. And yeah, to Noah's point, a lot of people have a lot of injuries right now, but the Celtics, I feel like, have gotten a lot of breaks in that regard so far throughout the schedule. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Other thoughts for tonight, guys, we mentioned it briefly, but the Hauser situation, I'm not really sure what's going on there. It's not just the
I'm
missing.
surprised they didn't start him tonight.
Yeah, but it's not just the missing, it's the minutes too. Like is he simply going to be a guy where Joe puts him in, if the shot's falling, he leaves him in, and if he doesn't, he's out, and that's who he is on this team now? Because we talked about everybody taking a larger role than they had last year. Hauser is the only guy who has a smaller role, which is very weird, right?
I think what it comes down to is that if you look at like the options that Joe has to play those wing minutes, you have Jordan, Ugo, Josh, Sam, Chris Boucher, and he's totally fallen out of the rotation. And I think Sam's obviously in Baylor, and if you stack up all those guys against one another, like Sam's thing obviously is he's by far the best shooter. That has not been the case so far this season. He's actually below average compared to those other guys. Baylor's shooting lights out. Josh is shooting 38% from 3. Like there's been guys that have been more reliable. Jordan too. And so now you're saying, okay, this slump has been pretty much the entire month of November. What can he give you otherwise? And I don't think he's a bad defender whatsoever. I actually think we talked about this a lot. He's an underrated defender. He's a good rebounder. He's a smart player, but his ceiling in this defense is just lower than Jordan's is. I mean, we saw Jordan do some things in the fourth quarter tonight that as much as Sam would love to do those things, he can't. Like he said it, he joked about it himself the last game, that he's just like not as good of an athlete as these guys. That's why he does the tip out rebounds instead of going up there and grabbing them.
You know what I'll say about him? He is missing Tatum more than anyone else. To create for him.
Him and Derek would fight on that, but yes.
One, to create for him, obviously, right? And then number 2, he would play next to Tatum, and Tatum could get the rebounds, take on some of the interior role. Because Hauser's not an interior 4 kind of player.
But to me, it's not even about any deficiency he has as a defender. It's that if this team's thing is going to be they cause havoc defensively, like he pressured the ball pretty well in the last game, but like, is he going to pressure the ball better than Jordan or Ugo can? No.
I think it's more the rebounding with him. Like I think
he's not as good of a rebounder. I mean, Jordan and Josh have been by far the 2 best rebounders when it comes to like those wing minutes. So it's just like, it's tough because the thing that should be getting him on the floor is that he's a knockdown shooter and he's creating spacing for everybody else, and he's giving you 3 or 4 threes a night, and that just hasn't been the case almost all of the season. I mean, he's had a couple of really good games, so I understand like why he's fallen out of the rotation. In the same vein, if you missing 3 shots sends you to the bench, like how much harder is it to stay on the court? It's like Derek and Peyton, those guys got to go through slumps, and because they're giving you other things relative to what else is available, like they get to still play. So it's a kind of a nightmare situation for a shooter to be like, okay, if I start over 3, like I'm probably going to get yanked because there's somebody out there that can defend better than me no matter how hard I play. So that's kind of the story here. Like he's going to have to turn it around. And I think he will because he always does.
But I'm going to ask the same Hauser question I asked about Simons, which is, again, if you're an offensive skill player whose strength is not defense or rebounding, I don't have time for you. unless you're going nuclear on offense. But if you can play defense, I'll live with whatever crappy offensive production you give me, because that's more important.
They are kind of torn between two identities, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I think the identity is the defense. That's the thing.
But I think John's point is that they're relegating certain guys who could be helping them. I'm a little more torn on Hauser. I feel like he's gotten opportunities.
But they're the same. It's the same argument. Everyone's mistaken me as like being this pro Simons guy. I actually don't think he's great. I'm not like a huge fan. I think he's
John
is a good offensive player. But he and Hauser are very much suffering the same fate right now, which is we can score, but I'm not being trusted.
Really, though. I mean, Hauser's been shooting worse than like most of the other wings. That's the problem. Again, I think he'll turn it around, but like that's why he's not actually being a scorer.
My argument is you're killing these guys by yanking them around. Like they're either regulars that you play and live with the ebbs and flows, or they're not. They're being jerked around like they're journeymen who are like, if you earn your minutes, you can stay. And it's weird because both of those guys have a pedigree. Hauser, is trusted here, and Joe has played him in the past, and Simons comes over as a 20-point per game scorer, but
they're
just
stuck positionally, John.
They
They put Hauser in over Minot, Walsh, and company, and like the rebounding issue from the first 3 games is back, and all of a sudden the other team's grabbing every single offensive
Who would you have?
rebound.
How many minutes did Hauser finish with tonight?
He was down tonight.
14.
What was it? 14.
Who would you have liked to see less of? Like genuinely speaking, like
I'm not even.
Because we have these discussions, and it's very like there's almost just like too many guys in a way.
It's not too, but that's the whole thing. Is there is the too many guys Walsh and Minot? Like that's what's confusing. Is like. Did we ever imagine?
Walsh, Minot played like 7 minutes tonight, right?
Not tonight, but before when he supplanted Hauser over the course of the season, he's lost minutes to those guys. Now it's Walsh. Before
Those
it was
guys
Minot.
have played better than him, haven't they?
I think it's just so like you said, it's like you need a guy that can. What has Josh and Jordan been doing? They've been matching up with opposing team's best player. That's not Sam's job. Like they have a completely different set of responsibilities than Sam would have. I mean, Josh and Jordan have the second and third best defensive rebounding percentages on this team, and defensive rebounding has been their biggest issue from day one.
And then the only guy you can cut into
that's
is
why
Brown.
it's like it's a weird comparison because
it's not.
He's fighting for minutes with guys that are doing have a different skill set.
Put it this way: is there only one way to win, or are there more than one? Right now, we have decided. He might be right. That the only way this team can remain competitive is to have people in those positions that can rebound and hold their defensive responsibilities better. That's the decision that's been made. We don't know in a sliding door situation what it would be otherwise. All we know is the offensive players have been relegated to spot duty and hot hand duty, and that's it, because that's how Joe is coaching this team. I don't know if it's the right call. It might be. I'm not actually advocating for one over the other. All I'm saying is they're in the same exact boat, which is Joe isn't going to – he's valuing one thing over another.
I just think –
And I think it's hurting those guys offensively because they can't get into a flow and they can't get into a rhythm because they're not a regular part of the rotation. And as Noah said, they're out there knowing if I miss my first 2 shots, I might be gone.
So you advocate for going Hauser over Walsh, Minot,
I just said as clearly as I possibly could. I'm not advocating for one over the other. I'm just simply saying this is how Joe is playing it. And I don't know if it's the right thing. I'm throwing my hands up. That's all I'm saying is these guys have been ineffective and inconsistent, and I don't know how much of it has to do with the fact that they're getting jerked around because of this particular situation. That's all I'm saying.
I think the problem is that even when they've gone with their more defensive and rebound oriented lineups, which has been ever since Josh and Jordan started, like that's the previous 13 games, they're still a bottom 10 defensive rebounding team. Like they're now number 20, whereas they were like 29 for the first couple of games.
Yeah, they were trying to not be awful. Right.
They're trying to not be historically bad as a defensive rebounding team. And I think through the first 3 games, they I just wrote an article about the rebounding stuff. Like game 2 and 3, they were out rebounded by a combined 33 boards. And Jalen was saying at postgame in Detroit, like, we have to figure this out. Like we can't because you can't win games being out rebounded like that. And so to me, it's like a necessity to have a Jordan or a Josh out there. Whereas like having somebody that can shoot like Sam can is a nice to have. And it's a nice to have that got paid $40 million because he's one of the best in the world at it. And I think it's going to come around. But this roster, like, because of the fact that you can't have Jaylen Brown guarding and the opposing team's best player and doing everything that he's doing offensively, and you don't have Jason Tatum, who I think has been a really underrated defender for this team over the last few years, and you don't have Drew Holiday and Derek White. Now you have Peyton Pritchard, who has way more limitations defensively. Like, they need to have that guy out there as their fifth guy. Like, I don't think it's really an option, because even still we're seeing, it's not like they're the best defense in the league and they're the best defending team in the league. Like, they're just getting by in those departments. So I can't imagine pulling back anymore, especially when Sam has been shooting 30% from 3 on the year. Like, and again, that sucks. And I think he's going to turn it around, but they're not putting him in the best position to get out of that slump. So he's going to have to figure it out another way. And like, him getting 3 shots a night is definitely a shooter's nightmare. But I just don't think I don't think they've even chosen to be like, oh, we're going to pick the rebounding path. I think it's like just a means of survival at this point.
I think they probably should have started Sam tonight. Like, that's what I expected them to do coming off the fourth quarter he played there. Obviously, you saw what he did with the starters down the stretch of that game. I've said it over and over again. Whoever's among those role players, whoever's going to play with the starters the most is going to be the most empowered player. And if you're getting the most points per shot, let's say from Hauser in those situations, more threes from him, better efficiency from him, that might be what you have to lean toward there. Now, you can go a different direction down the stretch. I hate to bench Walsh because he's done a good job in that role. But tonight, in this matchup specifically, I felt like it called for Hauser and what he did down the stretch of that game. And Walsh was doing a good job, especially with that Ugo combination. We finally saw Ugo again tonight late. There was a Walsh-Ugo thing off the bench that was working really well before they, threw Walsh up to the starting lineup. That's what they're trying to figure out right now, clearly. Like, where do Walsh, Minot, Hauser fit? Everything else looks like it's in the right place. We've had our frustrations with Simons. Feels like they're getting what they probably close to can out of him. Like, we'd all love a little bit more there. But that situation feels a little bit more figured out than this Hauser, Walsh, Minot thing, which right now, those are the guys who are getting jerked around, to your point, John.
And Baylor's eating some of Sam's minutes too. Like, we're talking about Jordan, but Baylor's in the rotation,
really
and there have been many
searching,
games where he's actually played more than Sam, which I never would have expected 2 months ago that was going to be the case. And I think part of that is that Baylor is shooting better than Sam, which is kind of hard to believe. But the other part of it is that defensively, I think he has a little bit of an advantage.
Over Sam?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay.
I think a little bit. I mean,
the numbers say that.
The numbers say that, and that's why I'm hesitant, because it's a small sample, but I lean in that direction, at least right now.
There's some creation from him too. He can dribble, he can create. Sam did a little of that tonight. I'll give him some credit for that, but it's tough right now.
Yeah. Jimmy, Sherrod, before we close it out, you guys have been on the pine for a little bit. What do you got?
We're just letting the kids go to work, John. Let the kids go to work. No, here's the thing. I love the fact that, the Celtics have some options that have each shown signs of being really good and signs of being like, oh my God, I know why that guy hardly ever plays. I still go back to them just maximizing what these guys do well. They don't have a lot of options, and most of them aren't very good, but they've got to be able to come as close as they can night in, night out to reaching their full potential. And when they don't do that, you got to ask yourself why. Is it just them kind of coming back to earth a little bit? Or are there some things that Joe Mazzulla can do to help better position?
Sherrod, there's an element of you can't bring that intensity and focus every single night. Like, it has to be at a maximum for this team to succeed. That was a lot of the post-game conversation, right?
When you don't, but here's the thing, Bobby, when you don't have it that night as a coach, you should be able to see that and recognize that. And when you do recognize that, what can you do to at least try to jumpstart? Like on a game like this, I don't advocate for Ugo to play every single game, but on a night when you're needing some kind of spark, this is the kind of night where you throw him out there for maybe 25, 30 minutes versus having, let's say, Minot out there or Jordan Walker or someone else. I want to see them mix it up a little bit more like that on those nights when the energy is clearly not where it needs to be in order for them to compete. Go with the guys that you know in that particular scenario and situation who can help you. That's all. Jimmy.
Yeah, I said a lot of my piece at the beginning of the show before they came on, but I just go back to what I've been saying is, the league, the NBA is all about talent. It's not about anything really else other than that. And the teams that are most talented and have the best players, and then the healthiest players by the end of the season, ultimately win the NBA Finals. That's kind of how it always goes when everything shakes out. This team, the two guys at the top, I said this earlier, I've questioned, we're all questioning the guys at the bottom and who's going to be with this team in the next couple of seasons. I'm more concerned about the top than I am at the bottom. The bottom guys just rotate through and, make do with who you got, fill out the roster, fill out the rotation. I kind of feel like that's what we're looking at with some of those guys at the bottom. But when I'm looking at the top, I'm starting to wonder, when Tatum does come back, whether it's this season or next season, who is going to be, a complement of that player, assuming Tatum can get back to where he was or at least close. Is Derek White going to be able to just slide back into the role that he was when he was a Derek White that we all knew?
It's a huge question.
If that's the case, then great. Jaylen Brown and Tatum, we can have multiple conversations about that. I'm sure we will someday. See you guys later. Oh, they're back. Okay. I'm starting to wonder as the season goes on, that's kind of what I care about more. I don't like what I've seen from White. I don't like what I've seen from Pritchard. Depending on the game, there's some things that I have liked from Jaylen Brown this year, but I think the overall, like the umbrella of Jaylen Brown, I'm having a little bit of concerns about on whether or not like that, John's mentioned it before, but the athleticism, need to see that back from Jaylen Brown or else he is going to have to rely on the shot a little bit more. I'm just not sure if he's that type of player. He's gotten by with his athleticism over the years, and he can get to his mid-range game and try to work that into his game again. That's great. But if the athleticism's gone, or not gone, but if it's just not what it was, then I think that's something you got to look at years down the road. So my questions are going to morph as the season goes on. I have a lot. I'm more concerned about the players at the top than I am players at the bottom. We can talk about Minot and Walsh and all these guys until our heads are blue, but at the end of the day, those players probably don't have a huge role on any team that has like championship aspirations. It doesn't mean that they don't get playing time, but we're talking like deep rotation guys there. So
that's kind of it. It's like it's across the board, right, Jimmy? Like it starts with White.
Yeah.
Like White right now, is White a number 2 or is he a number 2 on a play-in team? You know what I mean? Is like that's kind of it. That's the whole everybody punching above their weight. I have a quick question for Noah. Noah, if Jaden Springer was on this team, would he be playing ahead of Simons based on what we've seen with everyone else?
What a question.
Ooh.
Sure, you get 90 points a game.
So. I don't think so because they really never went with him, and I think they picked Jordan, they picked those guys over him. I don't know. Jaden Springer might just be because he's not even an NBA right now.
Where is he?
He's not an NBA right now, so Jaden Springer might just be a dream.
Where are you,
for me at this point?
John crowned him the best defensive player of all time on the Celtics, and then he was out of the league.
What?
What were the odds on a Jaden Springer tonight? Birmingham. Okay, he's in Alabama.
He's in the G League. Okay. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, listen, they have the problem right now for like minutes of shooting minutes that there's like 3 or 4 of those kinds of players, right? There's the Ugo and Jordan and Josh. They're all kind of supposed to do that. They obviously all have different strengths and weaknesses, but
you know what you guys could, how you guys could get what you want. You know how we could get 30 minutes. Just hear me out, okay? No, I'm saying right now, what do we want to see? We would love to see more. We'd love to see more Ugo, right? Stop.
Okay,
all of us. We'd love to see more Ugo. We'd love to see more. We'd love to see more Walsh, right? To see whether or not he can turn into something. You'd like to see Minot, maybe even Baylor get his minutes up there. Do you know how you do that? It's called
Jalen sits.
It's called tanking. Okay.
It's not gonna happen, John. John, it's not gonna happen.
Everyone is saying it, but everyone's saying it, but they're not saying it. Play Ugo more. Play Walsh more. Play this guy more. If you want to,
I'm not saying that for the record.
Not you. I'm talking about the chat.
Oh, okay.
The chat. Well, the chat's.
Well, I think the problem is that the amount of minutes we want combined is like way more than is available in a
60.
game, even if you saw Jalen. Like you want to see Sam play, they want to see Ugo play 25 minutes. Like there's only so many minutes to go around.
It makes the losing more palatable, is all I'm saying. Because when you lose with Derek White looking bad and sad, or Jaylen Brown, looking, whatever, those are bad losses. Like when you lose with the kids, you're like, well, I got to see the kids.
You know what I realized though? I was looking at because they've been the healthiest team in the league probably to start this year. Like 1 game missed from an injury. Jalen's minutes are down a little bit. Derek's minutes are down a little bit compared to last year. You wouldn't have thought that would be the case with Tatum out, but they are managing those guys to some degree. We saw the 10-minute thing in the first half against Brooklyn, whatever that was. White, they have not overdone it with him. Obviously, he misses a big part of the second half of this game. So there is some of that going on, whether due to health reasons, whether due to trying to keep Joe was talking at practice the other day, 11, 12 guys rotating.
I was going to say, the rotations are longer.
Part of it is
bigger.
And part of it is when inevitably there are some injuries, we're not going to be fighting over these minutes as much because now, let's say you're down 2 or 3 of those guys. Now it's like the other guys.
That's why I don't worry about anyone. Everyone's going to play, even Boucher at some point.
No one wants to see injuries.
Okay.
Clip it and save it.
You guys are just
Inevitable,
rage
she
baiting me.
said. Inevitable. She just guaranteed.
Yeah.
She can't guarantee a win, but she can guarantee injuries. Okay.
Okay, Noah.
Okay.
This is the NBA.
How long are we into this show? It feels like it's about time.
We're done. Okay.
Noah's like, wrap it up. Wrap it up.
We're done.
Are we close to Star Wars?
What does that mean?
No, we're not. Amit worked like one of his patented 37-hour days, and he was producing the show, and at the end of it, he was like this. He's like, this show's longer than a Star Wars. So
can I say one more thing?
This is a blame pie type of game, though.
Tell Noah off camera because she wants to wrap this. All right, what is your thing? Keep it short.
You can say it.
Nick Claxton's awesome. He'd look great on
he's
this
great.
team.
He's also such a good antagonist.
All right, we'll let you say that.
That's what you want to say?
That's what I want to say. Would you give up 2 firsts?
That's good. I was worried it was going to be a long thing, so that was good.
That was my biggest takeaway from today. Man, does he rock.
He does rock. He rocks. Okay.
They do.
Yeah.
Good coach, too. I like him.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
underestimated you, Nets. Sorry.
You'll do
It's
it again
okay.
for the next 2 and 15
There it is.
games. So.
Another sorry.
What I will say is this upcoming stretch of games is tough, but there's 0% chance they lose that Washington game. That's a certainty.
Okay. Okay. I won't say it. You did.
We do feel good about that. And we do feel good about all of you guys hanging out and watching us after a loss to the Brooklyn Nets. It is what it is. It happens.
Good.
You tell them we're moving over to the main account, John. You remind them?
No, we are, but I'm just trying to get out of here. The stream's moving.
All right. Stream's moving.
It's moving.
Yeah.
It's moving. It's moving. It moved.
For some people, they're on the right one.
No.
I'm just kidding.
I feel like I just got shot when you said that.
End the show.
The stream is moving. We are going to take off, but we do appreciate you guys hanging out. We'll see you on Sunday.
Patriots Sunday, too.
Patriots Sunday. I'll be pulling double duty there. Check us out, Patriots Postgame Show, following the Bengals. Maybe we'll get Trags on the show. That'll be fun.
That would be amazing.
And then Celtics after that. So we'll see you guys later. Have a good night, everyone.
Peace.